But as much as we talked about that one side lane out of Divios, you got to look on the other side as well. CycloneSpin, he goes for a very early crit build against a team that has no reflect damage whatsoever. There was no Thorns from fineokay, no Height of the Mean line to really reflect any of that. And CycloneSpin was also having a field day.
Yeah, he got into a pretty comfortable position early on, and you might sort of expect that to some extent with the Medusa, the ability-based damage coming on online a little bit earlier. But Snoopy also played rather defensively in that dual lane. You know, kind of played back. They had the jungle very heavily warded after that first gank, and that sort of freed up CycloneSpin a little bit as well.
When you're against a global pressure god, you have to be mindful about it every single second in that laning phase. So I don't necessarily blame Snoopy for playing too defensive.
Sure.
His strengths are in the late game. He was trying to play around that and get to that late game. Unfortunately, despite CLG even stealing away certain objectives, it wasn't really relative enough to allow Snoopy to get the carry potential on.
Yeah, that's right. Splyce defended the most important ones. They got, you know, the Gold Furies. They may have lost that, you know, the Pyro got stolen away. Hurriwind had a great play over the wall, but when they need to, Splyce turned it on, and we'll see what CLG want to do to try and adjust as they get the Chernobog this time. It makes it through the ban phase as the Serket Giannis have to be banned by second pick.
Going for the first pick is a good style for CLG to get their own identity online. With the Giannis ban, they're going to go for something out of Snoopy's pocket. The Chernobog definitely has the late game, also has the early game.
That's right. Chernobog is good. It feels like at almost all stages of the game. His late can be sometimes a little bit because he can't have that big team fighting ultimate the way some other hunters do. But sometimes he does actually. He can go up and slow everybody, pick a target in a fight. So we'll see if CLG can make the most out of that. Pairing it with the Ratatosker, that's
like
great global presence.
It's all about being able to survive the team fight. If Snoopy can get out of the team fight, he can use that ultimate to re-engage anyway. So he'll need to keep in mind the positioning of Cyno and Divios, escape their clutches, and then come back in for round 2.
I like this composition already from CLG, though. If they're able to play around this global presence effectively, they should be able to have a pretty good chance here against Splyce. But if they end up falling behind, it doesn't do you that much good to be able to get to the enemy faster if they're just going to kill you when you get there.
Discordia for the best yet again, and this is good in terms of allowing Divios potentially to play more aggressive the way he normally does. Could be Cerberus solo, could be Cerberus support. It's not the final writing on the stone, knowing that Aror can also play this Guardian.
Two mages banned out here by Splyce, taking a bit of a shot towards Hurriwind, especially considering they already banned away the Giannis. Still, though, strong mages are up. I mean, we talked about this last time. Agni still available as Ryujin being banned over him and Discordia being picked too. So a lot of good options for CLG.
Wanting to take their solo pick now instead of waiting for the counter matchup, knowing that CLG hasn't locked in their solo laner quite yet. Although Ratatosker has been known to flex there from time to time, going for a very safe Guardian against Osiris. I think fineokay is done against all this pressure from Divios. So he just sits back behind. He's going to try to sustain up as much as possible.
Oh, wow. So this has to be Chernobog in the mid, right? And you give a Muzen Cobb over to Snoopy with this starter?
No, it's a Muzen Cobb middle. Okay. There's more ability damage between the... Even though Snoopy really likes a Muzen Cobb, I'd be shocked if it's not a Muzen Cobb middle.
It's a ton of damage that comes out from a Muzen Cobb, though, right? And you're right, it's so much based around those abilities. If he can get the honey down with those bees, it feels like free poke. He just has the bees he can just use on the second ability, too, and that's a ton of damage. The stinger for the cripple. I mean, you're right, a Muzen Cobb in the mid lane makes sense with all the damage, but you wouldn't be worried about him being maybe too vulnerable.
Oh, that could be another idea if you're worried about the potential ganks from his Camazotz being locked in from Cyno. I think that I like the idea of the Camazotz. We haven't really seen it too often, but with the recent buffs to his mana pool, to lowering some of his mana cost abilities, it's going to be a good aggression from that jungle side.
Does Bat Out of Hell still take you up in the air?
Yeah, it's a pretty good
ability.
ability.
You can still swoop down and deal
3
damage,
times.
but you can't be, but you're up in
3
the air.
times.
Okay.
Not 1, not 2.
Still pretty good.
3 times.
The 3 times for Camazotz. Well, totally, that's going to do it here for the picks and bans. We're going to go ahead and get it over to the game and see how all these picks end up working in the action.
Thanks a lot, friends. 3 times, as the Germans would say. That's what you can do with Camazotz. And yeah, still strong. One of Homiefe's go-to characters. Of course, he won't be playing it. We're going to see Homie on a different character.
In fact, he had to lose it. It's Cyno who's trying to take that one away from him, although it could possibly be, you know... No, it's not. We all know it's Jungle Camazotz. I'm trolling myself here on that one. But one thing I am interested in is to see who ends up with the Muzen Cobb on CLG,
Snoopy.
because Well, you want to believe that it's Snoopy, but I feel it would make a little bit more sense to throw the AMC into Hurriwind's hands, let him pilot that in the mid lane. You're going to have a little bit less survivability there, but mid lane AMC, that's all the farm in the world that you could possibly want for an AMC. One of the main reasons why he doesn't see as much action nowadays is because he's very limited in duo now that the meta has changed around that role, and Chernobog, I feel, would have a much better time in terms of rotation possibility.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's what I would expect, but it will be Snoopy on the AMC. And I like I said, personal preference, think that it would probably work a little bit better throwing the AMC into mid and having the Chernobog in duo, but CLG are CLG, and they know what they are more comfortable with, and if a Hurriwind wants to take the Chernobog into the mid lane, can't really complain about that.
I think you nailed it there is when you said they know what they're comfortable with, and I think that when you make a composition, right, the true metagame of Smite is really the players that are playing within your play space, right? It's the league that you're in. I have a long harangue about what true meta is, but metagame is basically much less the characters that you play and more the characters that you play with respect to the other characters that have even played, how you react to the other people playing the game. And so the individual aspect is very important. I agree. I think flat out, AMC is better in the mid lane with Chernobog in the dual lane if you're going to be playing both of these hunters. But Snoopy is one of the best AMCs in the game, so you just give him the AMC. That's where, like, yeah, on paper, this is how you do it, but there's a big old asterisk that just says Snoopy's a little bit better, so you give it to him. Whereas in the middle lane,
it's like that mini subtext at the bottom that they don't want you to see or be visible at all, and it's just like, Snoopy will play AMC every time. Exclusively Snoopy.
Yeah, Snoopy is AMC, all rights reserved, no exclusions unless purchase necessary. If I had a script, I'd be able to do it quickly, but coming off the dome, a little bit different. Hurriwind here, though, on the Chernobog, will be able to travel anywhere he wants. I like calling him Cheddar Bob, like the movie 8 Mile.
Fair enough.
That was very relevant.
I don't know enough of the raps to follow up with this sequence, but...
Oh, no, Cheddar Bob shoots himself in the foot.
Leg.
Yeah, in the leg. Yeah, it's great.
Well, it might have been in the foot. It's been a while since I've actually seen the movie myself.
Well, hopefully Hurry doesn't shoot himself anywhere.
I know M had a pretty sick roast line towards his friend.
Yeah, that was good. I did enjoy that one. That movie's like... It's an old one now at this point, right? Jeez.
I don't want to call the movie old, but it makes me feel old.
I feel you. I feel you on that. Hurry, trying to run away, trying to see himself old someday. Cyno won't get the kill there, but the sustain is great. And actually, I bet you Cyno almost wishes that was a couple of minutes after or a couple of seconds after the fact, because he will send the rat back to base and it opens this invade, but the speed buff not up just yet.
Never know, though, with that level 3 advantage in comparison to Homiefe's level 2, and the fact he had it back to base, he is still sitting on that second tier of the Acorn. Didn't actually end up buying an item to start things off with. Went straight for the Acorn with the Assassin's Blessing. Plenty of pressure in duo. That's going to be a bit of a relief, I think, for Homiefe, considering the fact that he was forced to back so early.
Yeah.
And he wanted to worry about invades on duo from his team, or into his team. And he will be able to secure his speed buff. I don't think that Splyce would have tried to invade that regardless, though, just because you've got Hurriwind on the Chernobog. And that Vicious Barrage, it might not seem like much, but when combined with the Crystallized Curses, it can amount to some pretty serious damage.
Yeah. Certainly something that Splyce has to watch out for. Chernobog can always be showing up. Nice pull from Jigz. That's just a flex pull. I don't think there was any kill potential whatsoever, but sometimes you just got to show us up.
You get the beads for free.
Did
level
they
3.
Oh, they did, actually. Look at
so if Homiefe is able to hit level 5 within the next minute and a half, he'll still have about 30 seconds of gank. Cyno going to end up losing his blink. Won't connect with those vampiric bats onto Homiefe. Is still going to look for an invade, though, onto these... Oh, I thought he was going to go for the Heartbeats. He's going straight for the blue buff.
Yeah, Heartbeats are probably a little bit easier. Blue buff, though, more impactful. Cyno will be able to pick that one up. Nice decision-making. Again, the decision-making for Splyce is really what I've been trying to pay attention to. Homiefe in some trouble here. Going to walk away, no problemo. And Splyce will be able to go ahead and live on.
Homie was very distracted by what was happening in front of him there. lost sight of Divios for a second, sneaking up behind him, and
Sure.
got a little bit lucky, I would say, that Divios wasn't able to be a little bit more towards his side. It's very easy to clip somebody when you're dashing away on Rat and just have it stop short. So for Divios to not expend that Lord of the Afterlife because he was stunned by the Acorn Blast, I think that Homiefe has lived not just once, but possibly even twice now on occasions that he maybe shouldn't.
Hurry, level 5 now. Hasn't ranked into the ultimate. I think that's very interesting. Can we look at Can we look at Hurriwind and see what he's leveling real quick? I want to see what happens before he hits level 6. And he has. He just used it. Where did he use that ult? Coming back into lane, I guess, just using it as a lane teleport there. Yeah, he went from base right up to the mid lane.
Until you actually teleport to the shadow from Living Nightmare, it's still, or it'll show that like you don't have that available once you like drop it immediately. It's not like a Terra ult, for example, where that'll stay until the full duration of the timer on Earth and Fury, but turn is a little bit faster procced.
Transcendence finished there in the mid lane, no surprise to see that one. Snoopy going for the full ability-based build, and this is actually very interesting to me because I have always thought of AMC as primarily an in-hand hunter. He gets a gazillion attack speed coming out from the hives. He's very much about that sort of world, but his lane control comes largely from his abilities. So people have been playing him as an ability-based hunter lately. You can see the Observer already pointed out the Mage's Blessing, and he's going to be going into Transcendence. And Snoopy, actually, we like to see, or whether we like to see it is a different story, but Snoopy likes to build into the Soul Eater, Crusher. He's very all in on the ability side.
I like that you added in the, well, we might not like to see it.
The jury's still out on that item for me, in all honesty. I think it's a weird situational build that Snoopy goes every time. I don't love it every time, but when it works, it works.
I view it the same way as I would when any player does something very unconventional and out of the norm. It's that just because you happen to make it work does not necessarily mean that it is the better option. I think that Snoopy is certainly a talented enough player to make that work, but would he be better off with a separate pen item? For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can make it to Connecticut in a rowboat, but is that the best plan of action? Probably not.
That would be impressive.
See, it's a lot less impressive when we're talking about...
It's as impressive as watching an AMC with Soul Eater.
Yeah. Yeah, from Atlanta to Connecticut, that might be a little bit of a... I'm used to that phrase being said on Long Island, so it's a little bit less of a trip. But yeah, from Atlanta to Connecticut in a rowboat might be, I'm going to come out looking like Chapo after everything's all said and done. Arms the size of AMC's whole character. But Counterlogic Gaming, Snoopy, whatever he builds on this B is usually pretty devastating. Snoopy just plays AMC so incredibly well. And as I was saying before we saw them fight, I mean, he's really embraced the ability side of this character. And what winds up happening is that stinger hits for half of your HP bar, and very little poke leads to a death.
I'll be very impressed if CLG also end up winning this match, because it, to me, will just speak leaps and bounds in terms of their player execution. We saw it lacking a little bit in Game 1, that their execution wasn't as clean as that of Splyce, but here... Personally, Stingent Torment not going to be able to connect because Hurriwind just goes straight into the wall.
Yeah, love to see that. Hurry's actually going to make a gank here on the right-hand side, following up the Ratatasker, and he gone. Divios, toasted, first blood, Counterlogic Gaming.
The hunted has now become the hunter.
Oh, yeah. No, the hunters are in duo lane, Taco.
Well, not Hurriwind because he's in solo. Played yourself. Congratulations.
Damn it. I played myself. fineokay's in trouble. Cyno going to collapse on him. TheBest here as well. 3 players coalesce onto 1. And fineokay feels what just happened to Divios. I like that play from Splyce for 2 reasons. One, the real analysis of it all is they got the kill on the solo lane. They sort of got back what they lost. But also there's that personal side of it, like, yo, you thought you tossed 3 players at my solo laner? Us too.
It was also just a smart play from Splyce because fineokay probably feeling a little bit more confident after seeing Divios just get slaughtered from that mild tower dive. So you assume, okay, well, we just threw 3 bodies into the solo lane. why on earth would Splyce ever try to respawn here when the fight's already over? And then next thing you know, it's fineokay getting served up.
And this is actually where that kill is also very important, because Divios is going to wrestle control of this lane for the next couple of levels. Finish his Gladiator Shield. fineokay, 2/3 of an item done. The Glad Shield is going to have more presence in lane than that half breastplate will. So Divios actually, with that kill onto his opponent, will be able to utilize this sort of mini power spike to his advantage. Whereas if fineokay didn't fall there and Divios is even, probably a little bit less likely to be able to do so.
I really like this grouping, though, from CLG, but it's been tough for either side to really get the jump over the other, because this ward vision has been impeccable by both teams.
Yeah, we've seen it since minute 1. There's the pop coming out from the B. Jigz gets last hit, but I told you, that stinger damage is...
That's a hot yikes.
Yeah,
from me, dog. Yeah. Especially after watching Aror, he just looked like a balloon.
Yeah.
You see the stinger, and then instantly just
look at
nice
that.
little pop.
110% of your physical power. One of the few abilities that scales above 100%. And the physical power coming in spades because of the Transcendence build, right? So Snoopy just really, really, really embracing what's going on here with the AMC and coming up A-OK.
Honestly, the worst part's probably the fact that he managed to pick the stinger back up again. No problems.
Yeah.
It's just that Splyce, when they see Aror just get destroyed so quickly, what more can you really do there? You can't peel for your support. You don't have time to peel for your support. Like, it's just over.
Yeah, no chance to survive. Make your time. Just see you later. Dead, toasted, brutal, wrecked, destroyed. Destruction, as D1 would say. 11 minutes on the clock, or just about 2-1. CLGaming leading in all relevant categories. 1,600 as far as the gold is concerned. 2-1 as far as the kills are concerned. 700 experience up. A small experience lead, so probably less relevant than I might have implied. But the gold lead certainly something to start talking about. 1,600 is where you can sort of start thinking about your next move. Splyce has to be wary. They can't fight into every engagement. Whereas CLGaming, 2 red buffs. Their invades have been on point. Snoopy caught up a creek without a paddle. And the downside to AMC is the lack of an escape.
I'm not going to lie. It actually looks kind of cool. Well, hold that thought, because Hurriwind going to end up claiming Cyno with the Vicious Barrage, Crystallized Curses combination. Nice pinpoint accuracy there. And it's completely unrelated and completely irrelevant. But it looked kind of cool watching the Bat Out of Hell with a giant bee stinger through his chest.
Looked like he had
Maybe
another
it's just
weapon. Just like, ugh.
That was metal as heck.
That was pretty intense, yeah. That was a fun one. Kind of looking like a tarantula hawk wasp.
Oh, those things are actually a nightmare.
That's the #2 most painful insect sting in the world, is the tarantula hawk wasp. They live in southern United States, and what they do is they actually hunt tarantulas. They can smell the pheromones. Aror right now being hunted here. And what happens is they go into underneath the ground where they find the tarantula, and they pump it full of poison. And the tarantula, while still alive, will be paralyzed.
And then they eat it.
No, they plant eggs there, and then when the eggs hatch, the larva eats the tarantula alive while it's paralyzed. That's metal as heck. The tarantula hawk wasp.
That's a little bit too hardcore for me, man. I think the scary insect to me would be the bullet ant.
Yeah,
That's the one that scares me. Just something about an ant where even if you kill it, it will stay latched onto your body.
It's so frightening.
And you have to completely pull out everything, like the pincers and all that. Like, it's just, nature is scary. I don't mess with bugs. There is a reason I favor the fall and the wintertime, and it's not just because the weather is better.
It's because the bugs.
There's no bugs.
Yeah. Here in Georgia, I think there's always bugs, but there's a bug in this one. I'm using cub. The bee. The honeybees. Honeybees are actually friends. Rarely does the average honeybee sting. It's the other genuses of bees that are actually a little bit scarier. Honeybees help us out with pollination.
I feel like we're just going to slowly turn this into a nature documentary. By the way, guys, did you know otters have the densest fur in the animal kingdom for
down.
mammals.
Yeah, the oil is very big. Divios wishing he was a little bit slippery here. The Chernobog ultimate, so intense. Jigz is low, Aror is lower. Both supports are toasted. Divios extremely red. Trying to run away from Homiefe, who's in the air, jumping on top, gets the knock-up, doesn't get the follow-up. The disengage from Splyce, pretty all right. Cyno's on the back, dealing with Snoopy. Down goes the doggo. Hurriwind in trouble, one more shot could do it. Cyno killed in the air. Splyce show up, but it's a little bit too late. Nice strife there, Taco, but Splyce, I think, should have looked for the re-engage a little bit sooner. Could have saved their jungler.
Cyclone and Bez ran away, not really expecting Cyno to be as successful, I think, on that engagement, but all eyes were completely lost in him because people were so focused from CLG on taking out Divios.
That was, so I'm not in communications, but this is what this looked like to me. Taco, it looked like Cyno said, I've got it, engage, and his team didn't trust him. And I want to see that trust, honestly, come out, because that's that next level. We saw it a lot with Old Energy, where Raffer would make bonehead plays, and the team would just trust him, and that would wind up being the success that they saw. That was not a bonehead play from Cyno. I actually really liked that flank, but I don't think Splyce expected him, like you said, to be as successful. Next time around, Splyce in the future, I want to see them trust each other a little bit more.
If it wasn't for the Aegis there by Hurriwind also, he didn't have that dash available to go into the wall. He'd already used it prior to that engagement, but the Aegis bought him just enough time to make it so that Cyno was just crowd controlled until the end of time. Speaking of which, Hurriwind gonna get silenced out, will be able to dash away, but still gets stunned out by Divios, but the burst damage is not enough. He makes it up into the air from that living nightmare and just cancels it.
Yeah, just gets on out of there. Hurrwind's the ultimate that Hurriwind has been, I swear I can speak. Hurriwind's ultimate usage have been very, very powerful so far, and I've really enjoyed watching it. But that's kind of where he can get into trouble, by being there. He can't be the first one on the scene. He has to be a second responder, and this way everybody else kind of deals with it, and he lands in the midst of everything while everybody's distracted. If a Chernobog comes down from the sky, because your screen changes for those of you that haven't played against him, Divios actually taking a lot of damage here.
Divios might actually be dead here. He's still not out of that lurking in the waters. fineokay's looking for the commitment, but doesn't want to dive the T1 tower for fear that Auror's going to grab him with that Stingent Torment.
Jigz knocked down a half, and Homiefe in the sky, going to hit Best and Aror. fineokay trying to chase down the mid lane mage, will be able to get it, but Cyno likely to punish. The Sobek in trouble. Here comes the basics as well. CycloneSpin helps out on that one. Divios engaging and enraging three separate players. Here come the cavalry. Splyce trying to protect their solo laner. Divios has to escape there. Cyno drops the bats down, but no kill there. And Splyce will be able to walk away. It's a 1-for-1 mid lane for solo.
Snoopy and Hurriwind just could not afford to get any closer, because if they move into range of auto-attacking Divios to death, they risk a CycloneSpin, Cyno, and Best collapsing on them. And instead of chancing a free Gold Fury in favor of Splyce, should they lose out on that opportunity, they'd rather just back off, let Divios live, and just call it even.
6-6, even distribution of kills here. 41 to 42,000, somewhat even distribution of gold here. Experience as well. We're 17.5 in here in game number 2, and we're all tied up.
It's hard for either side to really get the one-up over the other. There hasn't really been any one specific distinct team fight to really break the game wide open. I think that we're getting closer and closer to witnessing that moment, because some of these fights have been cutting it real close for both sides.
We're seeing the 1-for-1 trade. As soon as somebody dies, the enemy team escapes, and somebody gets picked off at the end. It happens every time. Once these players have 4 items, right, you can see the solo and the jungles have gotten there, but I think 4 items in, all of those people escaping with red HP are just going to die. And then those team fights are the ones that turn into the objectives. That's where you see the stuff after the stuff. No criticism here from these players. The team fights have just not opened up big enough windows, and that's why we see Splyce trying to force it.
And Splyce still looking to force even more than that. Gold Fury getting pulled here by CycloneSpin. He's got the Artemis. He has the Poison Star and those Divo Glows stacked up. fineokay is actually getting bursted down, and almost immediately, Roar the Afterlight's going to be able to take him out.
And there's Decidian Torment. Aror trying to toss 2, only gets 1. Ultimate on top of Jigz from the mid lane mage. Homiefe on the back line trying to deal with Cyno. Homie looking elsewhere. Aror takes care of the support. He goes in the sky looking for Cyclone, and Hurriwind's there as well. Hurriwind takes care of him, but the best answer is back. Double kill.
Divios will end up falling to Hurriwind on this one, and Aurora's pretty up next close. As Best gets a double kill actually onto Snoopy. Immediate responses. Cyno still looking for even more, but he can't find it. Best, however, will be the last standing survivor of this engagement. Triple kill for the Discordia in the mid lane, and a full-on deicide in favor of Splyce.
I mean, that was kind of what we just said was going to happen. And I wish Best kind of killed himself on that jungle camp just for fun. But Best comes through in the clutch. The only living
Did you see
player
those
on the
crits,
map.
though?
Yeah. Those were really intense. And that's just from a single Poison Star.
If
right?
he doesn't land on top of the trap, I think that Hurriwind might have been able to do a little bit more there. Initially, I thought it was the Tusky stun, but after realizing that he had yet to be hit by the Tusky, it was just super unlucky.
I would have to go back and watch that play, but technically you can set up the Chernobog to land on the trap, because Chernobog basically takes the place of the shadow, right?
It's an awkward landing.
It is,
yes.
but he takes the place of the shadow. So if you can keep the shadow in that trap, you'll trap him on landing.
That seemed to be exactly what Cyclone managed to do there. And Cyclone, he went down relatively fast, but he managed to get his damage off just in the nick of time. So even though the Hunter was taken out of the fight for Splyce, that didn't really matter because they still had the Best there to play cleanup patrol, essentially, for Snoopy and Homiefe on that one. And Hurriwind.
We just saw one of the bigger fights of the whole game and still tied up. Snoopy, though, could be in trouble. Best takes care of him before anything else happens, and we're right back at it again. CycloneSpin falls. The Best falls. Jigz falls. It's a 2-for-2 so far. Homiefe landing on the left-hand side, pulling the Gold Fury, and Divios entertaining the other 3 players. Aror and Cyno are here. Divios takes care of one. He's done the job. The mitigation and the Thorns comes through. And Splyce have kicked open the door. They're going to chase down fineokay. But with the 3 remaining members of Splyce, can they? They've got 2 tanks and
they can do the Gold Fury.
Can they do the Gold Fury?
100% can do the Gold Fury.
No
They've
fire.
got the Camazotz damage. That's no problem. And Jigz and Snoopy, even though they're going to be respawned, they're the 2 least mobile characters on this team. fineokay has just got to try and get into the vicinity, maybe look to buy his team some time here, but if he overextends his welcome, he's going to end up getting picked off. Doesn't have that pluck available for another couple of seconds, but it won't even matter. Cyno, I'm pretty sure the dot damage off those vampiric bats is going to be what takes down Jigz or fineokay once and for all, but
easy.
It's just been messy.
Snoopy's here. Splyce have to be aware. Aurora's here. Doesn't have ultimate just yet. Full leash of the Gold Fury, actually.
I think they expect Homiefe to be up in the air. Now they're realizing if that Ratatasker was up there, he's not going to be coming anywhere near us.
Yeah. Splyce actually get a rare second chance to go for the Gold Fury. For a while there, it felt like we were just watching Counter-Strike. Everybody spawns, they run to the middle, and then they kill each other. And then we wait for a little bit. And then everybody spawns, they run to the middle, and they kill each other. Counter-Logic Gaming and Splyce. There it is.
That one much more one-sided, though, for Splyce.
Yeah.
It's like Best survives, and it was an insanely cool brawl to witness, but then they all respawn it, and this time it was just Splyce saying, no more. Our execution is better. And I think that's just been it for me this set. We saw it in Game 1. But as time goes on, I think that Splyce just managed to maintain a little bit more composure during these extended team fights in comparison to CLG.
I love the word composure, because really where I was going is CLG pick up the Pyromancers. Divios looks like he's just throwing everybody on CLG for a loop. He's there as an Osiris with natural mitigation, tether, and thorns. And the 3 members of CLG are still trying to focus him. Like, that's just not...
Oh, Jigz.
Uh-oh.
This could be trouble. Tree will manage to
He's good.
get out, but at the cost of his sprint. Hurriwind up into the air now, actually going straight onto CycloneSpin,
There
trying
it
to
is
stop
again.
this.
Yeah, beautiful play by CycloneSpin. He's really got a handle on how to deal with the Chernobog. I say that, and Hurriwind makes me put my foot directly in my mouth. I love the trap coming out from Cyclone, but the burst damage from Hurry, just too much to handle.
Cyclone should have started running, but
Yeah.
Cyclone saw red, pretty much.
Yeah.
He knew that Hurriwind had dropped his beads and his Aegis right in front of him. But it's battle of the RNG, battle of the crits, and
It's not
I
even-
would favor the Chernobog every time because he's got 40% damage mitigation on that ult.
Yeah, let's look at that Chernobog ult, because it's more than just run across the map. Nice dodge there from Hurriwind real quick, and Cyno trying to deal with it, and we might have to actually wait, and we will. The Chernobog gets eaten up. We'll talk about his ult in a moment. Divios now distracting the entirety of the enemy team. Can't catch up to Snoopy, so he'll turn around and walk away.
God, Snoopy is so fast with that wing blade.
I mean, it's everything, man. That's AMC's Hives. The Hives. So much movement speed coming out from them. What an interesting character I find AMC.
Oh, I like this, though, from Splyce. Not sure that CLG are completely aware that they were starting to pull the Fire Giant. It was just Cyno and Aror on it, but they will end up leashing it. A single ward, providing a little bit of vision there for CLG. Probably get taken out shortly, and sure enough, Splyce still looking for more. They want this fight.
Yeah, 40% of the big boys so far. Jigz is here and local. fineokay is ulted. There's Homiefe. Splyce take the objective, and now the ensuing team fight. Aror groups up 3. Jigz has a great ultimate himself. Snoopy off screen being chased up by Divios, but upside, CycloneSpin takes care of Jigz. Snoopy gonna fall down to Big D. That's kill number 19. And Splyce, Fire Giant in tow. Look how much respect they have to give to this Chernobog. And they finally find it. 4 players afraid to walk around the corner.
Well, you might think that was Auror's paralyzing spit damage, but rest assured that was definitely the unruly magic
that was
rocking into Hurriwind. That's where that huge burst came from, and eliminating the Chernobog from the scene. I just think that CLG, they were just too slow to the pit. Splyce were all grouped up, ready to go, and CLG kind of just toying with the idea that maybe Splyce are just messing with us. They're not going to fully commit here. And then Homie goes up into the air, realizes, oh, guys, this is at 10% now,
Yeah.
but by the time he lands, it's too little, too late. And I feel like that's been the theme of this set for CLG. Too little, too late.
What I love about what Splyce has done, so I mentioned before that Splyce has taken a very early game approach to the game of Smite, right? We see them repeatedly pick these early and mid characters, with the exception of the Hunter. I think you just have to go late game Hunter if it's not Medusa, right? But so outside of the Hunter role, they've gone into these really like early and mid game pressure characters. Divios, Cyno working out here, and that's been their approach to Smite in general. Play early, play often, and they've taken that to the nth degree where they just don't hesitate. These guys are, everybody out there kind of seems like they're NASCAR racing, right? Going pretty fast, but dealing with curves and stuff. And then Splyce come through and they just go, we're dragsters. And they just stamp on the pedal and they just go for it. That Fire Giant, I mean, that was a coin toss. And they just said, we're taking this objective and we're fighting. And I guarantee you, if Splyce lose that objective, they still fight. That was just a call. We're going in here no matter what. And I like that sort of lack of hesitation.
From what I've been watching, to me, this is the Divios show.
Oh, yeah.
Divios has fully controlled every little aspect of this game because he has forced CLG's hunters to have to go through him first before they can start to deal with dealing any damage against the other members of Splyce. And Osiris is every hunter's worst nightmare. He's already got mitigation built into his kit. It's part of what he does. Not to mention the tether, so you can't really stay within range. If you're trying to box him on the run, he's just going to stay spamming you down. And that's what we saw just happen to Snoopy. He couldn't escape, even with the wing blade, even with all this high movement speed. It won't make the difference if you're left alone with Divios, Hurriwind, and Snoopy. are probably just going to end up dying.
The itemization from Divios perfect as well. Midgardian Mail is something that everybody be buying these days. Still going to tip my hat to it. But the Witchblade, thank you. 2 Hunters, cut their attack speed, please. Wonderful choice for the Witchblade.
Plus the Midgardian Mail, plus the Mantle of Discord.
Plus the Thorns.
If it wasn't bad enough, it's about to get worse. And I know that Hurriwind's got Living Nightmare as an ability, but he is actually living in a nightmare trying to play a Hunter into Splyce.
Not a fun time whatsoever for Hurry or Snoopy. Splyce right now, 11,000 gold above CLG. Taking care of the left side, now heading into the mid lane to look for the tier 2 tower.
Does seem, though, at the end of this summer split, Splyce has just figured it out a little bit better. There's bound to be some changes occurring, not necessarily with the rosters, of course, but I mean, just in how CLG choose to approach these sets against the other North American teams. I think that Splyce have continued to show improvement, even through their down period. I still feel that they had some very noteworthy and strong plays.
I think Splyce is the single most consistently improved team. I think you can look in Europe and say that Mouse has made the biggest jump from where they started and where they're at right now. But I feel like every time I watch Splyce win or lose, they improve. And I think that's very interesting in its own right. Even when they lose, you can tell they like take this note, they take this note, they write this down, and they come back and they might lose the next week, but they've improved as a unit and they don't make the same mistake twice all that often. And I think that's a very, very positive sign because I think that's long-lasting success. I think those are the type of things as Snoopy gets his bead stripped. That's the type of improvement that lasts and that matters. I mean, you're a gym rat, right? If you just go out and you get quick gains, you're gonna lose it after your vacation is done. But if you sit there and you do all of the right things and you learn and you build correctly, those are the changes that are going to last and make a big difference in the long run.
Yeah, Chapo's basically turned into the personal life trainer for Maddie and I. It's been fun though, you know, those gym sessions.
Oh hell yeah. I'm gonna get me in on some of those. I'm not even kidding. I'm gonna come and.
You wanna come with squad?
Yeah, I'll be your little.
Swole squad.
Yeah, you guys will be masters, and I'll just be on the side like Silver, just like on the Gazelle. You know, just like working my cardio. Like.
Wait, is that what you call the treadmill?
No, the Gazelle. You know the guy with the ponytail.
What?
It's an old infomercial. It's Tony Little with the Gazelle. No, he's got the ponytail. Hey, I'm Tony Little. Where are the Gazelle today? And it's like an elliptical.
I feel like this is something I blocked out from my childhood.
I'm doing the motion. I wish you could.
And like, it's scaring me.
It's like
it's scaring me to watch this.
It's like an elliptical.
I feel like you're gonna run away.
Counterlogic Gaming trying to run away from Splyce right now, who's running away with the lead. fineokay gets jumped on, and he's gonna be jumped on. Divios 3 kills without a death. Blackjack for Splyce as they get 21 and 22. Aror tries to ult the fountain, but this one looks like Splyce feeling clean. 15 Thou in the lead.
Right-hand Phoenix already down for the count, and all 5 members of Splyce still left standing, although Divios not the healthiest of the bunch, but no problem. He'll just TP right back in because he still has his teleport available. Snoopy, no beads, means he's got to run away. That Windblade's already been procced, and Hurriwind tries to escape, but the unruly magic damage is just too much to handle.
The Soul Reaver, a great choice for the mage, just cuts down the mid lane Hunter. And I think this is it, Taco. Homiefe gonna go in the sky, but he gets dead before he even lands, and Splyce in 2 games takes over Counterlogic Gaming in their last game of the split. And boy, you want to make a statement going into the fall split. We hear you loud and clear, Splyce. Watch out.
Go out with a bang. That's the way that Splyce is looking at it, not just because the 4th of July happened to pass recently. It's the team. They are really putting in some work lately, and I think Team House or not, these guys have started to really establish a lot of team synergy that I think is going to carry over very well into the fall split.
Yeah, talking to Coach Kabam, he was saying that the lessons that the guys learned in the Team House are things that they can take with them and move on. That was something that he focused on as a coach, was he didn't want them to come into the Team House and succeed and then not succeed after the fact. So he wanted to make sure that they internalized everything And now Splyce certainly looking good. Who's the MVP? That's what we ask you in Mixer Chat. But how did that game go? That's what we ask you on the desk.
Thanks, Tom and Taco, for the call. Finch and Toli going to talk a little bit more about what happened there in that game, too. And what happened is that Splyce continue to like an actual threat to get into that top 2, man. And they do a lot of that through Divios. Yet again, on that Osiris, he was a monster here in this game. Cyno had some great plays on the Camazotz as well. I really like their jungle solo synergy.
A lot of teams have different styles and identities, and I think this is Divios' style, to go for this aggressive lane bully god.
Oh, yeah.
This is how he normally plays a lot ever since his early days with the Cognitive Red crew. And honestly, against his former teammate, actually, Snoopy, able to really stick it into that late game. Chernobog couldn't really, or the Musenkov rather, couldn't really do much against the Osiris once he had that kind of pressure. Also, Cyno playing lights out in this game, making more of a presence in this game with a non-global god than he did in the last game with the Ratatasker.
And I think it was because you highlighted Snoopy on that Amusen comp. He was kind of able to pick on him a little bit in team fights. If Snoopy got too far away from fineokay, too far away from Jigz, then Cyno was able to just kind of harass him and chase him down. We saw him several times wait out that Aegis, because apparently you're in the air forever, and then get those last few hits.
And honestly, like it was either Snoopy or Hurriwind that was going to get abused that game because of the Musenkov pick. I like the idea of the double hunter, but if you're going to run it, then maybe get a Fafnir, try to go for that Shogun's Kusari for the attack speed, and get that early objective rolling.
Yeah, really go all in on it in that game, or else you end up getting potentially punished by Divios, Onan Osiris, and that is who Mixer Chat has selected as the MVP for them as well, as Divios having yet another good game on that Osiris, and I'm right there with him. His presence was truly felt. But it's not just Divios. I mean, Best had a great game, too. There was a fight where everyone else but him died, and he got the cleanup on the back end with the triple. I mean, Splyce really showed up to play.
That's Discordia for you in a nutshell. You can find more than one member with a Strife, and then all of a sudden, your unruly matchup becomes that much more valuable as those two targets kind of collapse on each other with that gravity pull. And on top of this, Osiris is already good enough anti-hunter against one hunter. You put a second one on top of it, it's even better. The tether mitigates the damage that they deal, and then on top of this, the Witchblade pickup from Divios was good in terms of limiting that late game attack speed.
And Hurriwind, I want to talk a little bit about CLG here, because I think that he plays the Chernobog well, but he kind of runs to that wall that Chernobog can hit with his ultimate, which is that you either come back down or you're ulting into teammates.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it's kind of working for him. He's able to get some really good trades with Cyclone, but towards that mid-game, he was ulting into his death.
That's true. He couldn't really find the right target whatsoever. And even though you get a little bit of movement speed, the damage reduction, and it still wasn't enough to get away through the clutches of Splyce. The chase down was just too real.
It was definitely strong from Splyce. They are able to come out on top, and totally, I believe, that should lock up that third place spot for them as well. So Splyce definitely have some momentum to move into that fall split with. And speaking of momentum, apparently Ares has a ton of momentum along with Ganesh, because those are the ones that make it all the way to the end of the Odyssey voting bracket chat, as well as everyone else in the general population. I don't know what y'all are doing. Should have easily been Athena Cerberus. Then Athena should have won for free. But since we are picking from Ganesh Ares, it's Ares. If you pick Ganesh, don't at me, please.
I agree. I think Ares definitely should be the one. It's the god of war. How are you going to defeat the god of war?
You cannot. This should be free for Ares. Again, it's a fight that should not be happening. It should be between Cerberus and Athena, but since this is it, vote for Ares. I decree it. That's just how it should be.
It's funny about the theme of that battle, because you got one peaceful god on Ganesh versus one of the most aggressive gods ever in terms of Ares. Who will prevail?
Who will prevail indeed? Well, we'll get a chance to find out. And Tola, that's a great segue. We're going to find out who's going to prevail at HRX as well at DreamHack. That's where we're hosting the Smite World Championship console, Paladins console as well, November 16th through 18th. So open up that other tab, hi-rezexpo.com. Go ahead and grab your tickets now.
Mark it on your calendars. A little sooner than the first week of January. Not that cold either, so get ready.
That's right. It'll be a little bit warmer and a little bit different from where you were before, in the downtown area-ish now, instead of where y'all might have been used to if you've been to some HRXs prior. But don't worry, different certainly in this case means better. I mean, it's just a bigger event all around. There's way more stuff there. It's not just high-res stuff, but if you want to see some of the other stuff that's going on too, it's right there for you. Plus, you get to meet some of your favorite personalities. Me and Toli will be there, players, coaches, everybody you can want to see. So make sure that you come out and hang out with everybody there, Toli.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and a lot more fun to come with some more North American SPL action.
That's right. We still got to see LG and Trifecta battle it out. That's going to be the next set that we're going to take a look at. So go ahead and grab your drinks now, your snacks, whatever it is you need to enjoy some Smite, and then get right back here for the last set.
Turn it up, turn it up. Turn it up, turn it up. Turn it up, turn it up. Turn it up, turn it up.
Check it. Hey, check it. Put the place up.